Oh my, I sure can't find Tiana. I have been looking all over for her. She told me she was going out to meet a friend, but she still has not come back. I sure could use some help from a handsome prince.
Ah, but you're in luck. A prince is here, and he is sure a handsome one. If it is Tiana you seek, I can assist with that request.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad to see you again, Naveen. She sure has been gone a long time. Can you help me look for her?
Never fear. I saw her just a few minutes ago. She was with her new friend, DisneyGirl.
DisneyGirl? That name sure rings a bell. Where have I heard that name before?
Ah, she comes from another kingdom where they spend their time looking at little devices in their hands and tapping their finger on it furiously.
That sounds awful place. Oh, look, there's Tiana now, and she's with her friend. Hi, Mom. Sorry I was so late. I was with my new friend, and we were just having a great old time. Thanks, Tiana. I had a great time with you too, but I gotta go. Where are you off to this late in the evening? Oh, I'll just be, around the kingdom.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 21 of Around the Kingdom, a Disney Magic Kingdoms podcast by a guy who would kiss Tiana, even if she were a frog. Coming to you from Dr. Facilier's Voodoo Emporium, I am your host, Prince Squirrel. And this week, we have Tiana's close friend, the ever-so-talented Disney girl, back on the show.
Hi! Thanks so much for having me again.
And I'm sorry, that's Prince Sebastian. That'll be for today.
I was going to try and say something, but I was like, yeah, no.
Thank you to each and every one of you for joining us this week as we explore the wonderful world of Disney Magic Kingdoms. Before we get started, I want to give a big shout out to our Patreons, Carrie Schumann, Anita Anderson, Kathy Clausen, Honeybee, and Kira. Thank you so much for your continued support. We are already halfway to our first show goal, so if you want to help support the show, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/AroundTheKingdom. If you want to be more involved with the show, you can join our Facebook group or follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and now YouTube. It's a great way to stay in touch with me and the community of the show. The links to everything will be in the show notes and can also be found on the show's main Facebook page. This week, we have our second interview with Squirrely, my awesome daughter. It will be released shortly after this episode, so keep an eye out for the bonus podcast and the YouTube video. The kingdom is always changing, so for reference, the show is being recorded Wednesday, February 20th at around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A little later than usual, but still the same awesome show. All right, now we get into it. Disney Girl, what have you been doing this week in the kingdom?
Well, the last week or so, besides obviously the limited time event, which I will tell you about in a second how that's been going, but I have welcomed Bagheera. So this is part of my main storyline. Welcomed him. I built the Jungle River Drift. I unlocked Baloo, which was crazy. And to be honest, it only took me like less than 2 days to collect everything for him.
Wow.
I mean, the magic I already had, but like all the character tokens and stuff, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Everyone's like, oh yeah, a couple weeks. And I'm like, yeah, 48 hours? Really? Like, wow. That's ridiculous.
That is crazy. That is some awesome luck. Go play the lottery.
I think so. I was thinking about it, but I was like, what? That kind of luck only happens once. At least in the kingdom. Now, in terms of the Princess and the Frog limited time event, I have brought in Eudora, which, as we met at the beginning, that's the very first character in the event. I've also brought in Lewis, so he was 200 gems, but he was totally worth it. I was very, very happy that I invested in him. I'm really looking forward to Charlotte, though. She's the one I'm looking forward to most, but she's coming. I don't have her yet. That's not my week in the kingdom.
Are you looking for her more for like what she's gonna be doing in the game, or are you looking more forward to doing her voice on your show?
Her voice for dialogue. I am just ecstatic. I feel like that's the one I've been born to do, and so I'm like, there we go. So yeah, I'm kind of keeping that on the down low sort of for now, but yeah. In terms of the event, I guess too, I brought in Prince Naveen. I built Dr. Facilier's Voodoo Emporium. And now, most recently, I have unlocked Mama Odie, and that was over, I think it was 3 days, 12 hours or something like that to go before she's officially released to us. So I feel like I'm doing pretty well in this event. I have, in terms of currency, like, almost 20,000 now. So I feel like I'm kind of stocked up. Gumbo, I'm doing really well with that as well. I've got like, I think, 80 now. So I've got a lot saved up. And two, I've got the characters like pretty high. Like Naveen's a 5, Eudora's a 6, and then Lewis is a 3. So, and all 3 of them are all ready to go. So I've been just sort of debating on whether I want to level up one of them before Mama Odie's release. And I think I will now because I just have so much extra time, right? And like I've got all this gumbo and I don't want to max out on the gumbo because then they won't give me any more. So they'll just give you currency, right? Like if you reach the max that you can get. So
right. Yep.
Yeah, I'm like, I think I just have to level somebody up because of that reason. But I was avoiding that with the character token drops and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I didn't want them to like mix together so that way they were alternating who would be dropping. And two, with like Eudora's being like common or uncommon items, it's just like, yeah, they're going to drop before like an epic or a rare, which is probably what Mama Odie's is going to be. So... Yeah, just sort of debating on what my next move is, but that's coming to the kingdom. That's not already done. Sorry, I got a little carried away there.
No, sure. I mean, it's funny because the last time you were on the show was right around the same time that I had that crazy rush of like getting Baloo and getting Bagheera and getting like all these guys and like you were like and like doing Jungle River Drift and you're like, how are you just doing so much so fast? Yeah. But as you can see, you know, and I've been watching your videos pretty religiously with my daughter, it happens very quickly. That whole segment of the storyline goes very quickly, you know, and you even not just collecting for the characters, but just how it moves along. A lot happens at once. So
yeah,
it's pretty.
It was kind of like that too with Bambi and the second part, 2 Pirates of the Caribbean. It just sort of all happened, and I was like, well, now we're collecting for so many things at once.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you had such an awesome week in the kingdom. And to follow Disney Girl's awesome adventures in the kingdom, make sure you follow her YouTube channel. The link to that will be in our show notes because her videos are amazing and her impersonations are even better. So, but
Thank you.
All right. So moving on to my week in the kingdom. So I finally finished collecting tokens to welcome Shere Khan and Wendy Darling. However, with the event going on and their tokens being so hard to come by, I am afraid of possible token conflicts that might be coming up. So I've decided to hold off on welcoming them until the end of the event. I'm cool with that. You know, seeing as how the rest of the main storyline I feel is like rapidly coming to an end, I'm okay slowing it down a little bit to preserve it as long as possible. You know, I've said before, you know, I kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, you know, because I know how many characters are left. You know, it's not a surprise you have a character book in front of you. So I'm just kind of okay slowing it down a little bit and then just, you know, taking my time. So other things I did, I purchased the Jolly Roger. I had 30,000 elixirs finally, and I was not able to get the Hook bundle since I got him in the Sapphire chest for Christmas. So I had to make a big decision, and I chose the Jolly Roger over everything else. It was my first Elixir attraction, and I don't regret it so far. It's awesome to look at, and it drops awesome stuff. Disney Girl, what have you bought Elixir attractions before?
Actually, you know what? That just reminded me. I must have just not made a note of it because it was part of my live stream that I did, and I had a bit of a thing where it cut out. So I started another one and sort of went a bit all out. And I ended up purchasing the jumping jellyfish this past week.
Nice.
Now, I was really torn because I really wanted Davy Jones's organ because it helps with Tiadama and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I broke down and I had this perfect section in my kingdom right by where I have all my Little Mermaid stuff. And I was like, I had this land just sitting there empty. And for me, having a spot of land empty is just like, yeah, that doesn't happen. So the fact it was just sitting empty for so long, I was like, I just need to put it there. Like, there's nothing else that I'm going to put there, no matter even if I have room for it or not. So, but otherwise, I think that's it. Really just that one.
That's okay. Well, I'll tell you, it looks awesome. So that was an awesome pick that you did. It's a fantastic looking ride. So I'm glad it fit well in your kingdom. But yeah, save up. Davy Jones' organ is pretty awesome. I don't have it. That was the thing I was debating between getting that or the Jolly Roger, or Toy Story Mania. There's so many good attractions.
Oh, I know.
So and I know Toy Story Mania. I know something's coming up in the summertime. So. But, okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there's going to be costumes for Bo Peep and, like, all kinds of stuff. Like, there's just no way. You've seen the previews for it, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a mega event. Something big is going on. So, but I do think that attraction is going to have some bearing on it. So, we'll see.
Yeah, so maybe that's what I should be saving up for next instead of
I think both of us need to start saving up for it.
Yeah. Everybody start saving now. We both say so.
Speaking of land, I did finally unlock the 2 million potions land, and it goes very quick. I opened it up with the thought that I would just use it for the event. So I have my Dr. Facilier's Voodoo Emporium in there, and just a whole mess load of concession stands. But I'm so glad it's unlocked. It's just good to have more land. Next up, 3 million. And then in between the end of Chapter 1, I had almost 4 days until Mama Odie was able to be welcomed. So I leveled up a few characters who I did not have any token conflicts. I wound up leveling up Ralph twice, Piglet twice, Flynn, and now Honey Lemon is out for 24 hours to get to level 10. I'll talk more about choices for why I chose them and choices for who to you to level up in the next session for the Newcomer Tip of the Week. And finally, the Lifetime Visitors Board. I've broken into the 130s. I am at 139,893 for my rank. So I'm coming for you, 125. I'm coming. All right. Do you have your game open, Disney Girl? Do you know what your rank is on the Lifetime Visitors Board?
I have it open.
So click
my
the people
ranking,
at the top.
94,532.
Nice! You've broken into the 100,000.
I have. Number one, I'm coming for you.
I aspire to be like you. All right, awesome. Well, now let's just get right on into it. Let's go into the Newcomer Tip of the Week. And I think this is something that I really wanted to talk about. And Disney Girl, I want you to definitely chime in on this because I think this is very important. So one of the biggest questions that's asked during an event is who's safe to level up? And you should. And the other question is should you be leveling up anyone at all, or should you just wait until the event is over? I went for my first entire event, which was the Big Hero 6 event, not leveling up a single character outside of the story characters. I found that by the end I was frustrated and I really just wanted to do more storyline and work on my main characters. I was burnt out, really. The problem was that I had a lack of resources. Here's where we can help. On our show has a list on our social media pages for who's safe to level up and not cause token conflicts. We go even deeper into the conversation about this in our show's Facebook group, so make sure to check us out there. This list, though, lets you know who's safe to level up during the event and we keep it updated at the beginning of every chapter. Although it's a big list, and there's lots of people that you could choose from that are safe to level up, choosing who to level is also something you need to be very careful about. You want to make sure whoever you choose, you feel confident that you'd be able to collect all of their tokens before the next chapter unlocks. Of course, because you don't want conflicts with the new characters that you're going to be trying to work on. So that being said, here are some of the things that I want you to think about when choosing a character. First, the Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, and Winnie the Pooh character sets have not been hit with the balancing to increase token levels needed for each character yet. For the ones that have been deemed safe, these character sets are good choices to pick because you only need a few of each token. So I mentioned before I leveled up Piglet twice. That's because Piglet needs like 8, scarves and, 8, of his ears. That's not a lot. It's a rare drop, but, there's lots of characters out there that need like 25 at the same level or something like that. So these collections are ones that I would target now because they're going to get balanced soon. The other thing, so the next character I recommend, thanks to Allison, who gave me this suggestion, is Ralph. If you have Ralph from the Wreck-It Ralph event, he is currently not a token conflict with anyone, and his tokens are common, which makes collecting them super easy, and they're only 1 or 2 hour quests. While there's not a lot needed, you're pretty much guaranteed a drop every time. So if you know you have a couple of days to go until the next round of unlocks, Ralph is a safe bet because you can just keep cycling through his stuff and you're getting your drops every time. And finally, the one thing I want to mention is don't level characters who have epic or legendary drops. So if you're kind of earlier on in the game, let's say you did The Little Mermaid, Ursula is an example, Donald, and Zurg. Those are all kind of earlier characters that newer players would have that have epic or legendary drops. You don't want to risk not being able to get them and possibly having a token conflict when the next chapter begins. That's a lot of stuff to say. I hope that was a good piece of advice. And again, you can always visit our Facebook page and to talk more about it. DisneyGirl, let's throw in your thoughts on leveling during an event and how you go about it.
Okay, I feel like I have a bit of a maybe unique way of doing that, or at least it's sort of my thought process to get characters maxed out. Pretty much, when I'm doing an event, I try and get that first character to like an 8, 9, or 10 during the event, so that way, once the event's over, I just make sure I get at least one character from every collection that's from a limited time event to a 10. Now, at least the ones that I've participated in, right? Now, I always go for that first character, and you can usually tell in your storybook because it's usually the first collection, the first character. It used to always be that character that would be the first character. Now, I've noticed like over time they've changed like the order a little bit, so it's not really the case. So, like Eudora is like third in now, so it's kind of like but having that one character at least maxed out, for like a tower challenge and stuff like that, they usually pick that character, that first character. So having that one maxed out and that can constantly go out all the time, super useful. Now, I know this is a limited time event, so we're not really usually thinking about that, but that's sort of my thought process with it. Now, the other thing is when there is a limited time event going on, and I understand token, drop conflicts and stuff like that can be a real problem. But usually I feel like I'm smart enough to just know that if my character's like halfway to getting to being maxed out, I can pretty much get them maxed, like not maxed out, but like max out for that character token. Then I don't really care about that conflict because it's not going to really slow me down that much. And I'll focus on the secondary storylines character. So, for example, Princess and the Frog's secondary storyline is The Little Mermaid. So my focus is to get all of my characters from the Little Mermaid event now during this Princess and the Frog event maxed out. so that way I don't have to think about them ever again. That way, at least, and they're all ready for a tower challenge, which you know that there's a really high chance Little Mermaid is going to be part of a tower challenge in the very near future. We know that it's coming. Same with like Winnie the Pooh and stuff like that. We know, but Winnie the Pooh hasn't come out with that secondary storyline yet, so they're not all maxed out. I got a couple characters that are now, but typically I'm going for that secondary storyline. So again, Little Mermaid is my target this time. Now, right now, like, I don't have everybody maxed out, but I have Ariel, believe it or not, and Sebastian maxed out. So those two are, like, Sebastian was the first character in that event, so he was, like, pretty easy, common drops. Again, he's perfect for a tower challenge. Ariel was a little bit more difficult, but I focused on her a bit more because of the welcome screens with the comfy cozy costumes. I really wanted to show that in my videos. So she kind of just got to a level 10, and I just didn't even really know until she was a 9. I was like, oh, okay, well, now I got to pick a costume, but, you know, this is brutal. So hopefully she doesn't get any more costumes, because that welcome screen button is still not here, so we can't see it anymore once it's maxed out. But I'm hoping one day they'll have that button for characters that are all maxed out. But that's going on a bit of a tangent. So, I guess for newer players, though, like, I understand, you know, the whole don't level up Donald and, you know, someone like Zurg. But, like, I would say someone like Donald, he could be useful for certain things, maybe collecting tokens for your main storyline. So I probably would still go ahead and level him up. And I remember for him, there was, like, I think it was, like, most of the time it was, like, 8, 10, 12 items that you needed for him, so it wasn't super bad. I don't know if that's changed, but when I got Donald maxed out, that's sort of what it was. So it didn't actually take that long to get him maxed out. It took actually longer for him to be collected for than it did for him to be maxed out. So I don't know. I think right now, though, it could conflict a little bit, but my Little Mermaid, since they're out anyways for currency and stuff like that, a lot of the time that currency token is gonna be there anyways, the character token with the currency. So I'm careful, like, yeah, with Ursula and stuff like that, because she's like a legendary drop for at least one of her items, like her necklace, her shell necklace to be specific. But I think other than that, I think she's really the only one I'm really, like, overly worried about in terms of character tokens. But
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, and there's definitely a million different. That's the fantastic thing about this game, is there's so many different ways to approach it and look at it.
Yeah.
So you have Sebastian maxed out. What level is Prince Sebastian at? All right.
I see the trick question there. Oh, he's at a 9. You know, I still got to see his welcome screen one more time, so I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Another thing I just wanted to mention real quick was that last week we talked about how to prepare for the event and how to get a jump start on event currency. So a big thanks again to Teal Avion for her speculation thread for the beginning of the event. Most people that followed it wound up with between 300 and 400 event currency right off the bat. Then Teal was at it once again with what to expect for the characters. Who would drop tokens for Prince Naveen once he got unlocked. And she had quite a few right, so it definitely gave people a nice head start. So it was great theory crafting by Teal, so thanks so much for giving us all that information. All right, so let's move on into the game news. And there's a lot of game news to talk about. So the Dreams Do Come True event began, otherwise known as the Princess and the Frog event. Chapter 1 started out, and Tiana realizes that the Shadow Man is back. And after confronting him, she disappears. And Eudora sets out to find her. If you want to hear the awesome storyline, I'm not going to make DisneyGirl do it again, but watch her video, because it's fun to hear it. So Eudora gets welcomed. So let's just stop there for a minute. What did you think about just the intro to the event and how they did it, and Eudora being the first character? What are your thoughts on that?
My first thought before the event was starting and like we got the official where we saw the official live stream on Disney Magic Kingdom's Facebook, when we saw the character lineup for sure, I was actually super disappointed that Eudora was actually going to be in the kingdom. I was like, oh, like we should have had Ray or like I felt that there was or Mr. LaBeouf. Like I just thought those two characters were going to be way better to start with, but once the dialogue came out and the storyline was revealed, I actually love it. So I feel bad for being so like, oh, disappointed about it at the beginning, but now I'm just so hooked on the dialogue. I'm like, okay, keep finding like looking for Tiana. Like the dialogue between Prince Naveen and her has been so awesome. So I'm actually really happy that she was the first character in the kingdom. It was a nice, pleasant surprise from DMK.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people share the same sentiment as you because I did. I wasn't super excited at first about her, and I think everyone wants to know where Ray is, especially Squirrely.
He's the star in the stained glass. I'm sorry, like I think he's staying there unless they get like really desperate on like a character or something. I think like the Tower Challenge character is going to be Mr. LaBeouf. Like there's just no way when it comes eventually. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be Ray. I think he's just staying in the sky.
Well, that's one way for him. But Squirrely, my daughter in her interview, she talks a little bit about him. So spoiler, check that out.
I'm gonna have to now.
But yeah, no. So I'm happy though. I think the storyline is going really cool so far. I'm really enjoying it, and I think it's cool the way that everything's kind of falling into place. All right. So once Eudora kind of got her feet going and looking out to find Tiana, we then were presented with the float bundle. The Princess and the Frog float was available for 50 gems if you wanted to purchase it by itself, or the float and 1,500 event currency bundle was available for $1.99 US dollars.
What did you do?
I did gems actually. I purchased it with gems.
Nice.
I had quite a few saved up, and so I went with the gems. I feel like the last event that I was in, I just had a ridiculous amount of event currency left over at the end. So I'm not concerned about event currency. I have the helpers, I have the little memory characters, so I figured 50 gems was a good price. And then, so what did you do?
I purchased it for don't know if it was 199 here. It might have been a bit more than that, but I ended up deciding to purchase it that way. I had a little jump start with the currency, and I know that like my currency turns into gems, and especially because I didn't use gems for Lewis, I thought I'll use my gems for Lewis and for the you're going to talk about that in a second, but the gumbo.
Yep.
But yeah, so I thought I'll use my gems for that, but I want to support the game still, so I'm going to purchase like the smaller bundle for that.
Sure.
And get the currency.
Cool. So yeah, so that was that. Then right after that, the Lewis and the Swamp Gumbo bundle became available for $3.99 US dollars, so it was them together, or you could purchase Lewis for 200 gems alone and the stand for 60 gems. So yeah, so you purchased Lewis and the stand separately. Did you buy both of them with gems?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did.
Me too. I had a lot of extra gems laying around because I've kind of got things like unlocked. I have everything kind of moving along. So my gems now are really being able to be used to purchase this premium content, which is good.
Do you have enough for the next set?
For the next set?
Well, sorry, like the next bundle that's going to be available, like Lottie and
yes,
I'm assuming one of the concessions.
I should have enough. I think I'll be all right. So we will see, though. But I've supported the game. I've bought every legendary chest I can imagine, so I'm okay doing some gems here. Okay, so after that was available, Prince Naveen became available to be welcomed, and I thought he was a very cool second character to have in the game. he took a little while to welcome. He had quite a few pieces to get, but they weren't super rare. I think they were they both uncommon? No, I think one rare, one uncommon. But it went pretty quickly. So let's lock in Prince Naveen, and how did that part of the story go for you?
It went really well for me. It took like just over 24 hours to get all of the stuff for him, which wasn't actually too bad. I did set my timer though in the night, so I was making sure that I got up to collect and then tap the voodoo dolls that are walking around the kingdom right now. Those are kind of spooky, eh?
They are very, very spooky.
I kind of like them, but at the same time, I'm like, they look so angry.
I think Squirrely calls them the little creepy guys.
The little Yeah, that makes sense. But I like Prince Naveen's dialogue. I think it's a lot of fun. And his welcome screen.
Yes.
I thought he was going to be one of those boring princes that just sort of strolls in or something, but he was so much fun. I was like, yay.
And he's so much fun to watch around the kingdom,
I know. Him and Lewis, they're such a hoot.
And the sound that they did, like if you zoom in, for people who don't know this, if you zoom in all the way in on a character or an attraction or something, most of them have specialized sounds depending on like what they're doing. So if Lewis is playing the trumpet or something of that nature, and you zoom in, like you'll hear him playing the song. So all those little things are the things that really set this game apart from other games like it. So
I totally agree with that.
So after Prince Naveen was in the kingdom, they did some more searching, and then they wound up looking at Dr. Facilier's Voodoo Emporium. So that was the one we got an awesome sneak peek at during the live stream with the spooky little hands going all over the building. And so it was cool. It was only 4,000 event currency, which didn't feel bad at all. I felt like, I didn't feel like I was like, oh, I'm going to have to really save up a lot for this. I felt like it was pretty on point with being accessible to everyone. What do you think about that?
I agree about it being accessible to everyone. It does make me a little nervous, though, for the upcoming attractions to how much they are actually going to be. That was my first thought. I looked at it, I was like, oh, no, why? This is not going to be good later. But maybe it won't be that bad. But, I was able to build it right away, which is fine. I do have to say, though, about the appearance of it. Like, I understand now with the dialogue why they made it look the way they did, because they didn't want to make it, like, just the Emporium itself, because they have it more like you're around the characters are going around that area. They're not actually going into it necessarily. So I understand why it looks like that, but at the same time, I was kind of hoping it would look more like the Battleground sort of does. And I kind of pictured it to be more like the Cave of Wonders type of idea. Do you have that in your kingdom?
Yes, I do. It's very, very cool.
And yeah, especially when some of those little kids walk around in your park and they actually visit it.
Yes.
It really it opens up and does this big thing, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And you always wish you're recording when that's actually showing, but you never are. So I never get to show people.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if you stare at it long enough, it will happen. But yeah, I was kind of hoping it would look more like the Battlegrounds do. Just personally, I want to keep that voodoo face in my kingdom as an attraction. And I wanted to put it by my Nightmare Before Christmas kind of stuff and the Haunted Mansion, and because it's all that same purple and it matches and it's spooky and yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely get where you're coming from. I think it's a cool thing, but I don't know, when you compare it to the Cave of Wonders, it's really hard to compare anything to that. That's one of the most amazing attractions they have in the game.
Which one, the Cave of Wonders?
Yeah.
So, it's absolutely awesome, but I figured the attraction was going to look kind of like the Cave of Wonders in that regard, and have a similar interaction, like the mouth would open or something like that.
Yeah. No, it would totally be amazing. Totally. Yeah, I love that idea.
Come on. Well,
But
because the battlegrounds don't stay, so that's why. Like, I love the battlegrounds how they look, but again, it's a temporary thing in your kingdom. So,
yeah. So also the other thing to mention about the Voodoo Emporium is it helps collect Eudora's Pincushion Band's tokens. So it's just another nice thing to help move things along. Once you finished that and you did some, you leveled up your characters to make sure they were, I think, all at around 3 or 4. Then you were able to get to the end of this chapter and to the point where you are ready to welcome Mama Odie. And that is where we are both at right now. Mama Odie will unlock in a day and a half, approximately. So everyone's just kind of hanging around. So the question is, what do they have in store for Chapter 2? So here's where I get a little confused and a little bit nervous, right? So Mama Odie is going to be welcomed at the beginning of the chapter. The only other thing, if you look at the storyline that they have in the game and each kind of milestone that you get to, there's Mama Odie, and then there's the Down by the Bayou attraction, and those are the only two things that unlock for an entire week.
yeah.
Yeah. So what's gonna happen? Because there's got to be more stuff that goes on, into that. I think Tiana is going to be the one that unlocks probably at the beginning of the following chapter. But what do you think they have in store for us?
I think this is usually the slowest part of the events, to be honest. It comes to the point where as soon as like that fourth character becomes unlocked, we get, yes, the attraction, but we always have to wait quite a bit, like, and we get bored. And I feel like a lot of people give up on the event at that point. Like they're either, oh yes, I'm there, or it's just, oh, I'm not there, so I'm just quitting. And so I just say stick it out. And even if you feel like you're behind because like you're watching other YouTubers or you're listening to a podcast or just talking to your friends about it, just don't get discouraged. Keep going with it, because this is in one day, 12 hours. It's going to be literally the slowest part of the event. And really, it makes the last part, really, chapter 3, it makes so stressful because we are like getting the paid character and we want to start leveling her up and everything so that she can do the battle against the battlegrounds. And then Tiana, I guess she'll be unlocked and everybody obviously wants her. So it just kind of becomes a big kerfuffle. So really, I think that chapter 2, yes, worry about getting Mama Odie in, definitely, and getting her leveled up to like probably a 3 or 4. That's sort of pretty much what your goal is going to be for the second chapter. Obviously build the attraction and stuff too, but like just get through the leveling up. I think that's really what it's going to be about for a lot of us, especially the ones that are basically just sitting and waiting. We're probably going to be sitting and waiting again. So it's, again, slow in terms of dialogue and stuff like that. It will be, but at the same time, it's a good time to sort of collect that currency and level up the characters.
Yeah. One thing I've been thinking is, welcoming Naveen was significantly faster than Yes from the last event. And yeah. I feel like, especially with the craziness of the tower challenge and how completely insanely difficult it was, I feel like this event is going very smoothly. And maybe they just decided to take an event and tone it down and really just kind of make it really accessible to the newer players. So, people who are more experienced players or veteran players are going to kind of breeze through this maybe. And, the newer players have a good shot of just getting right along and going through it. And I think that's good. I think that everyone can kind of use a relaxing event, for a break. Because things can get really, really challenging. I think that the end of this event's going to be a bum rush. They usually try not to make the comfy costumes very easy to get. But I like the fact that they're taking it and kind of, smoothing it out.
So. I agree. I think well, I don't know. How did you do on the tower challenge? Did you get Cricky?
I did. I was able to complete the tower challenge. I had to spend a ridiculous amount of gems to do it. Just for speeding things up and moving things along. To get the warrior costume, I spent a lot of gems buying those ruby chests. I spent a lot of gems speeding up for Cricky and for the drops for the comfy fabric. So it cost me a lot. I think I spent close to 500 plus gems on that event.
Wow.
So, and for someone who's a more experienced player, like I don't have everyone at 10, but I'm pretty, at this point I have a pretty solid arsenal. And that was a lot. It was a lot to spend, so.
Did you have Mulan already?
No. That was the one thing I didn't have. Over the Christmas break, I bought all the different legendary chests that I didn't have except Mulan. And then right after Christmas, the Mulan Tower Challenge gets announced. So,
yeah.
Yeah, so it was tough. Having her definitely would have made things easier and probably would have saved me some gems. But it took me a lot to complete the event. So, but all right, listen, let's move on here. We still have a lot of show left. All right, so what other thing to point out here is that the kingdom building editor was introduced into the game. I have not gotten a chance to really use it very much, but it is pretty amazing for what I've done. I've used it to remove all the decorations in the kingdom at once because I needed some help finding the clams and the cursed dolls. So it was awesome to just be able to click and say, suck up all those decorations. I had like 96 decorations in the kingdom because Squirrely likes to just go and start placing decorations randomly throughout the kingdom with no rhyme or reason. I had like 8 little bird baths in a row. But anyway, it's so much easier than having to click on them and return to kingdom, click, return, click, return. So really loved it with that. Also, when my 2 million magic land unlocked, I was able to stuff it with concessions using the editor mode. And it made it really easy to kind of just tap things into place so that I could fit the most possible into that space. So I'm really looking forward to when the event ends and I can rip up my entire kingdom and redo it from scratch. I'm really looking forward to that. Have you, real quick, have you had a chance to use the building editor yet?
Very little. I haven't even gone to the extreme of like removing all decorations or anything like that, but I've removed a couple of things and played around with the arrows, and I really like it. It helps sort of fit things in, I think, a little better. And if I was ever to do a speed build again, then that would definitely be a blessing. Because when I did my speed build, it took me it was like 3 hours to put all my stuff in the kingdom, at least. So it was pretty intense.
Yeah, it took me, the last time that I ripped and replaced my kingdom from beginning to end, it took me almost 4 hours. So, yeah. All right. So that is that. Awesome stuff. Some issues happened. People who are Windows players, people who are primarily only playing on Windows, have been having issues with the events disappearing on them. First, the Tower Challenge disappeared a little early, and now some users are having an issue where the Princess and the Frog event is disappearing as well. Gameloft is aware of this and is asking users to contact them using the in-game ticketing system to report if they're having this issue. It's my understanding they are getting back to people pretty quick who are reporting this issue, and they are compensating them and working it out so that they can get their stuff. So if you're having a problem, that's the way to get it fixed. Today, I don't really know much about it, but today it seemed like there was a lot of people that are having connection issues with connecting to the calendar. It was saying that they couldn't connect to the calendar if they were on LTE, and that if they connected to Wi-Fi, it would start working for them again. But it seems that those connection issues are resolved now. It seemed like it was like a couple of hours of blip. But anyway, I hope that everyone else's is fine. If not, contact Gameloft through their official forums. All right. That is it for the game news. Lots of cool stuff going on. I'm looking forward to next week. We're going to have lots. Well, we don't know. Let's see how much goes on in Chapter 2. It might be a slower week. We'll have to see about that. let's talk about the events of the week. We now actually have events again now that the Tower Challenge is over, and we are back into event mode. The first one that we had was Don't Be Shellfish. I love the dad jokes here. This one started on the 15th of February and ended on the 17th of February. This was a cool little event with the clams that popped up. This was the first time this Don't Be Shellfish event happened. And the little clams came out. They spawn in groups of 10 every 4 hours. You could get a total of 120. And again, I love tappers. Tappers are fair for everyone. Everyone can get rank 1 and get the maximum amount of stuff from the event. So, yay. I had a rogue clam. I don't know what happened. Somewhere in the middle of the clam event, one clam, I got 9, one clam just was in a spot where this clam did not want to come out. It did not want to come out of hiding. I looked for this thing for at least a half an hour. I had my daughter look for this for at least a half an hour. I even bribed her. I told her I'd give her $1. I know, big money here, but I told her I'd give her $1, which is a lot of money to a 5-year-old, if she could find the clam. She could not find the clam. I left the game open to see if the clam would kind of make his way around. Nothing. So I did not get first place. I did hit top 50 though, which was great. So the rewards were rank 1 through 5 got some EC and 3 radiant chests. 6 through 50 got 450 EC and 2 radiant chests. And then radiant chests for people all the way up to 600 with less EC going down the line. So how did you fare in the clam event?
I did have we'll call it the rogue clam in that leaderboard event too. And yeah, it was it was my last tapping spawn or whatever, and I was looking everywhere. I was like, there's absolutely no way. I checked my kingdom so many times within that period before it was ending, and then I ended up coming 51. So I was like, I was like, really? All because
the rogue
I couldn't
clam.
find one. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I was so frustrated that I was about to do Kingdom Editor remove all buildings just so that he couldn't hide anymore. I got you. But
the worst idea ever, but super smart at the same time. Just trap him. It's just you have nowhere to hide.
What would the clam sound like? What would your voice be for the clam?
Oh my gosh. You know what it makes me think of a little bit is the clams, or I guess they're oysters, but that are in Alice in Wonderland.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So
they don't really say much, but they say a little bit.
So here's the thing that everyone's talking about the radiant chests. So people got their rewards for the radiant chests, and they're like, yay, decorations! And people weren't getting decorations. Available in the radiant chests were event currency, along with the dandelion lamppost, the frog fountain, the ruler of the carnival throne, the froggy cream soda stand, and tokens. Lots and lots of tokens.
Yay!
I was able to get 2 radiant chests, and out of the radiant chests, I did not get one single piece of decoration or anything of the sort, which was a little frustrating because, look back at Wreck-It Ralph, and basically in those chests were just the decorations of the event. And I was frustrated to just get tokens. I can send my characters out for tokens, right? I don't need to work hard to complete an event and spend time and waking up in the middle of the night and going to check my phone and, tapping stuff in the middle of the night to wake up and get excited to open up a chest and get tokens. So I don't like the fact that they were introduced into these chests. I wish it was just the decorations. If you want to make the cream soda stand epic and that's I totally get, but I don't know. It just felt bad. What about you, Disney Girl? How did you think about these chests?
Well, I got the ruler of the carnival throne on my very first one, um, like from that leaderboard event. So I was pretty happy naturally, and I didn't really think about it too much. But I have noticed that character tokens and stuff like that in these chests like are becoming a thing. And I think for the event, I think it's a good idea, but I don't know. I think you're right about the decorations. I think people were just complaining so much about getting so many decorations and chests and stuff that they've gone like the total opposite direction and been like, fine, you guys don't want decorations? We'll just give you character tokens for characters, even if you're collected all the stuff until they're at 10, you'll just keep getting it. Like that cravat token for Beast, like in bronze chest. You have no idea. Like my bronze chests are so boring. So I'm like, oh, are we going to get the cravat token? Yes, we are. So it keeps coming up. So I feel like it's just, we're complaining about it and they fixed the problem to be something else now that we're not happy about. So I'm kind of trying not to go too harsh on this. Again, good idea, but I think it's more friendly for those players that aren't waking up in the middle of the night or checking their kingdom like maybe once or twice a day. Those tokens will be really useful for them to finish the event, but not for us people that are just trying to get all the stuff from it.
But if you're a player checking your kingdom once or twice a day, you're not getting a radiant chest off the leaderboard.
No, but you can purchase them now for 25 gems, one per day.
Yes, you can. But it's rough when you make that the grand prize of a leaderboard, and then you just get tokens. I just think it's a rough choice. I much preferred. I get why they put the tokens into bronze chests, silver chests, whatever. Like that's a different story. But for an event chest, I think this was frustrating. Like for Wreck-It Ralph, you had the different arcade stands, you had the different things, and
I never got Hero's Duty on that one. I was really upset. Like it was like, wow, it's the only thing like I don't have.
And there were no tokens.
Yeah, no, there was no tokens, so I was just losing everywhere. So it was like, yeah, that hair shrub curse has invaded the rest of my kingdom now. So everybody's just saying my kingdom's just cursed with garbage stuff happening to it. So. Yeah, I agree with you. Character tokens in these radiant chests.
It's hard.
I don't like it personally, but yeah,
it's hard.
It's hard.
Anyway, I've made my point. The next one that just finished up for the main event was Wish Granter. It was the 34th time that this has appeared in the game. This started on the 18th of February and ended today on the 20th. It was a 2-day long event, and rank 1 through 5 had 2 radiant chests and 1,000 EC. 6 through 50 also had 2 radiant chests and 800 EC, and then 1 radiant chest and less EC as you move down the board. So another just Wish Granter event. Nothing spectacular to talk about there. Anything you want to mention about that?
No.
Yeah, just another Wish Tapper. It's a fun event. All right, so that is it for the mini events of the week. I'm sure we will have some more. I'm sure a new one will start tomorrow. So looking forward to that. All right, so we are going to do something brand new here, and I think this is going to be something DisneyGirl is going to know a lot about. Instead of us doing the Is It Worth It segment this week, we have a new segment this week called There's No Place Like Home. I know that's not a Disney reference, but I like it anyway. It's kind of like Is It Worth It, but it's for sending characters home. This is where I'm going to discuss how sending characters home has changed how I've played Disney Magic Kingdoms. So, we've talked about this on the show before. Originally it came up and we referenced a Jason Headley article that he had written on his blog about sending characters home. But there's been a lot more talk about it lately, and my life has changed a bunch lately, so we're revisiting it. So there was lots of discussion. Again, with my new job, I'm in my office a lot more than I was previously, and I am much busier. It takes time for me not to only collect every quest, but then send people back out on new activities, and it was way too long. With the number of characters I have, and, you know, if I send them out for 2 hours and I go out 2 hours later, it takes me almost 10 to 15 minutes of just sitting there and tapping everyone, tapping all the magic, and then once that's done, sending them back out. 2 hours, click, 2 hours, click, 2 hours, click, 2 hours, click, 1 hour, click, 2 hours, click, you know, like, and having to know the patterns of, like, how they're, you know, where they are, because some characters, you know, have a joint character quest, so their 2 hour one isn't in the second one down, it's the third one down. I mean, you know, like, it's like, it becomes like a game in itself, memorizing these patterns. It was taking me a long time. So it's hard for me to take those kind of breaks. Then I spoke to lots of people, you know, so I asked people about this in our Facebook group. Lots of people were saying that during events, they put every character away who isn't collecting tokens or event currency, just to make the events simpler for them. So I decided to do this too. This is the more extreme of the options of sending characters home, where basically everybody's home unless they're collecting tokens or event currency. But I decided to try it to see how it would work, and then kind of adjust it a couple of times and see. But for right now, all of my characters who are not collecting tokens or event currency are home. So this week I have 116 characters at home.
Oh my gosh.
So before I get into that, and what I like and what I don't like, DisneyGirl, do you send characters home? And if you do, what's your strategy or thoughts around that in general?
I don't. Actually, I currently have nobody at home. Everybody is in my kingdom. I have a very full kingdom, and I feel your pain about the 10 or 15 minute thing every single time. I think that could be a lot simpler if they, for example, when your character's at a 10, that send them home button should not be the very first button at the top. I think that should be at the bottom, because it makes it difficult to, again, as you said, remembering the patterns and stuff. And two, I think there should be an option that if you want to, for all of your characters, they wouldn't be able to do it for just one or two. They'd have to say all characters, like whether you want the longer quests at the top or at the bottom. And I think that way, for someone like you who's a lot busier and stuff, if you check your kingdom, like let's say every 12 hours, right, for those other characters, then you could have the option to get more magic and stuff like that by having them in your kingdom, opposed to sending them home, right? Because you'd probably be fine. Oh, okay, you know, once or twice a day if I have to do that, you probably wouldn't care. But sending them home, you just don't get the same amount of magic.
No.
So again, if you're saving for something big like 3 Million Land or Shere Khan or Peter Pan or something that's going to cost you a lot, it's not really that smart. And during limited time events, I try and collect a lot of magic. That's sort of where I get all my magic from.
Sure.
Is by just not really doing anything with my main storyline through limited time events. So I think it's a good idea what you've done for your situation. Absolutely. But I don't think it's necessary if they changed a few like little details, like I was saying.
Sure. We've you know, and this is all for experiment. You know, this is me taking one for the team. The first time I ever sent a character home was last week, and it was Maximus, just because he needed to go out to pasture because he's the worst character in the game.
4-hour quest is the longest you can send him unless he's teaming up with Flynn.
Yes. So and I've done some fantastic math on that, and he's still terrible even when he's teaming up with Tin. But that's another story. But anyway, so I decided to try this out because I wanted to see what would happen, right? And yes, we've talked about that button for sending characters home should be at the bottom. We've talked about the send all characters on this amount of length quest. One of my feature reports was to check an option to take away all the joint quests, so that basically you knew, like, you had your 1 hour, your 2 hour, your 4 hour just stagnant, so you could just keep hitting the buttons in the same places. So there's definitely ways they could make that, keeping your characters out in the kingdom and making that process go faster. But that's not the case right now. So here's the things that I like about sending my character home. What I like is that when a character can start collecting tokens, that they get moved all the way up to the front of the list. So, for example, I brought Ralph out of home, and I sent him out to level up. And then when I went back home, all of the Wreck-It Ralph characters were bumped all the way up to the front of the list. So that's that. Now, the interesting thing about the list is that it seems like it's in the order that you put them in. So there's not like even like in character set order. They're just like in a random, it's not even random, just like as you're sending the characters back and pulling them out and then putting them back in, they kind of just go in line. So it's kind of not something I don't really care for. All right, the other thing that I have to say is my time spent collecting completed quests and sending characters out on activities has drastically changed. Remember, it's the collecting and the sending out that is the time that you're actually accounting for. And I would say now it takes me about 2 to 3 minutes.
Wow.
So I log in, I go around, and I can collect all the magic and complete all the quests and send my characters out in about 3 minutes, I would say. Which is like, wow, right? It's ridiculous how fast it goes. You're just like, oh, okay, I'm done now. It almost feels like I'm not even playing the game because, you know, like I'm used to sitting down in chunks of like, let's say 10, 15 minutes at a time. At nighttime, sending people out for 8-hour quests, it's almost 20 minutes because you have to scroll all the way through. So when you're only playing like in like a 3-minute block, like I almost feel like I haven't played enough, you know, like I haven't filled that, you know.
You go through withdrawal.
Yes, I haven't been in the kingdom enough, right? But I guess I could spend that time doing other things like rearranging my kingdom or whatever. But in general, this is just how I was feeling. So, all right, so that's that. So now we're talking about this extreme mode, right? So here's things that I don't like about home. 1, my magic production is severely down. I would say that I was averaging, I don't know, close to 100,000 magic a day with all of my characters and all my buildings. You know, subtract, of course, sending, you know, leveling people up and all that. But I was averaging, let's say, 100,000 a day. I'm coming nowhere close to that. It's severely dampened. Way down. I can't even.
What are you at now? Like 20 or 30,000, or are you talking like 50, 60, or?
No, I'm probably getting maybe 40. But again, if I'm sending characters out, you know, I'm seeing a net gain of much less. Like I feel like I've been doing this for three or 4 days, and I've only maybe made 100,000. So I would say it's you know, at least 25. You know, percent of what I was normally making, if not less. You know, you're only getting 8, you know, per hour per character, so it's bad. Especially depending on, it also depends on how much you play. Like if you were only sending characters out for 4 or 8 hours, the amount of time it would be less noticeable than for me who was doing it every 2. You know, I was religiously every 2 hours sending my characters out, which is almost the most that you could maximize, you know, unless you're sending them every hour. So, yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. Here's something else I don't like. You have to collect your magic every 12 hours. So when you have characters at home, it shows you how much you've earned so far, but you can't collect the magic until 12 hours has passed. And then it stops. So you're not even continuing to collect magic. I really think that if you're going to use this feature, there should not be a hard stop at 12 hours. I think that it should go on for a minimum of 24 hours, if not indefinitely. Like, why, when your characters are sent home, do you have to worry about collecting for them? The whole point of sending them home is not having to worry about collecting for them. On the same topic, if you're going to max it out at 12 hours and say, okay, you know, only 12 hours at a time, then let us collect it whenever we want. Like, we should be able to, like, see, like, what we've earned so far and, like, say collect now and hit a button and say yes. I just don't like the way that it's structured for how you can collect. So that is what I think about that. All right. So another thing I noticed, especially with the Wish event, is that if a character has a kid who has a wish for them, that character isn't moved up to the front of the list. So, like I said, as soon as a character had a token available for them, they'd move right up to the front of the list. There was a little circle on their character portrait that said, "Can collect tokens," and you can pull them right out. But for the wishes, now not just for a wishing event, but just for wishes in general, for people who are trying to upkeep their happiness in their kingdom, it would be nice if a character moved up to the front and it had like wish available or something of that nature, so that you could keep that moving along. So I just think that would be a good feature as well. Finally, on iOS, I'm using the iPhone XR, which is, a little bit bigger than the previous iPhone 6 that I had, so right now, the right quarter of the screen is dead space. So I can't swipe using it. So if I'm right-handed, so if I want to swipe through my characters, like I can see them there, but I can't scroll through them by touching that quarter of the screen. I have to go almost a third of the way into the screen or almost halfway to like move them through.
No way.
I'm guessing that this is probably due to the optimization settings, because they probably optimized this game and built this game on the smaller, 6S phone. So now when they're accounting for a larger screen surface area, they haven't changed that touch radius, maybe? I don't know. I'm not a developer, but that's just kind of where I would think it would be. But that whole section of the screen it's very frustrating. Like, because if I want to fly through characters to try to find someone for a wish or to pull them out for whatever reason, I shouldn't have to hold my hand in the middle of the screen and do that. It's very frustrating. So that I didn't like about Home as well. So that's kind of where I'm at for this experiment so far. The worst part of it is the magic production, by far. I can see why people who have everything they need magic-wise and have a nice little stash of a couple of million magic that they're just doing nothing with would send a lot of characters home. It makes sense. To me, like, if I didn't have to worry about magic right now, this would be fantastic. I would just have my token collectors, my EC collectors, and I'd be fine. But for people who, and I'd have to say it's like the 99% of the population who plays this game, who needs magic, for leveling characters, welcoming characters, buying land, doing all the things that they're doing, I would say, we need to figure out a good balance of keeping characters out, because the magic production is so different. So, that being said, what I'm going to do this week, starting tomorrow, is I'm going to switch it up, and I'm going to try to keep about half of my characters at home, and the other half, back in the kingdom. But I'm going to be picky with those. Like, for example, Maximus is going to remain at home.
I was going to say.
but also, characters that, don't have 2-hour quests are going to remain at home. Because I want to, I'm a 2-hour quest person, usually during the day. Characters that don't have an 8-hour at night quest are going to stay at home. Because it's very frustrating for me because the way I do it is at 10 o'clock at night, I send my guys out for 8 hours, and then I usually am waking up around 6 in the morning. So it's like perfect. So if they only have a 6-hour quest, it's 2 hours of non-magic production time when you just look at it, from that perspective. So those are going to be kind of the people. I'm going to kind of groom who I'm sending home, who I'm keeping out, and see if I can find a happy medium to that. Or if I'm not happy, is Maximus going to be the only person at home? That's what we're gonna have to figure out there. All right. So, anything else you want to say about Home before we move on, Disney Girl?
I guess I know you've touched on like the 60-minute quest thing, but for example, like my Li Shang is like at a 2, and he can only do a 6-minute or a 60-minute. So someone like him, if I'm not checking my game all day or something like that, it makes sense for someone like him who's like a super low level. Like if you were to send that character home with like Maximus, that makes sense because that again, all they can do is like a really short quest, and they probably would produce more magic at home for you for those 12 hours than they would just 60 minutes and leaving them run around to do whatever.
Sure.
So I guess depending like if you want to level them up during an event or not, but if you're not really looking to care about that, then send those guys home.
Well, wanting to level them up, and just real quick, wanting to level a character wasn't an issue for me with sending home, because if I wanted to level up Li Shang, I pull him out of home, I hit the level up button, I go back to home, and boom, all the Mulan characters are right at the front. I can pull them out super quick. Right? So,
but when you take them out, then you lose the magic for that character, right? So if you pull them out before like the 12-hour you collect,
no,
then you're not gonna get the magic for that.
It's like every hour, it like gives you like magic you've earned so far, and like pulling characters out doesn't change that. Like you've kind of like earned that bank every hour. It's like every hour you earn the magic and it gets put into the bank. So if you pulled them out at 55 minutes, you wouldn't get your 8 magic, but who really cares?
Yeah.
Right. So, but all right, yeah, cool. So that is the There's No Place Like Home segment. We'll do that for another week or two, and then when that's done, we will get back to Is It Worth It? But for now, everyone's favorite song, Feature Report, Feature Report, Feature Report. Feature Report is
that was
segment
fun to see you do it.
where we talk about one idea or feature we would like to see implemented into the game. We have a couple from the Peanut Gallery. So the first one we have is from Tariaza. I love that name. I hope I didn't butcher it. She says she would love to be able to see her entire kingdom as a whole. Please let us zoom out all the way. Yeah. That would be amazing. I would love to be able to just pinch out and be able to just see the whole kingdom, at once, and just look at the attractions and the different lands and just kind of see everything. I just think it's an awesome idea.
Me too. And then that way you could choose an area that you want to go to instead of like having to scroll all the way to wherever, especially as the kingdom gets bigger, and it grows over time. I think that's a wonderful suggestion.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the kingdoms growing, I was working with a good friend of the show, Tom, who does our concept work, and we actually were throwing some ideas about like a full-blown like Epcot expansion. I'm just gonna tease it at that, and just say that we have some amazing ideas in the works, and we're gonna kind of collaborate on that, but. Think about that.
That'd be cool.
Just let that blow your mind for a second. All right.
It is already blowing it.
All right. Next one from Morgan. She says, please let us rotate our park view. I find it so hard to find these tappers in the small places. Yes.
The rogue clam.
This is simply rogue clam issues. Okay. And I get it. The rogue clams. But no, when you watch the introduction to Disney Magic Kingdoms, when you first load it, if you and you can do this if you want to uninstall the game, and then reinstall it, it actually rotates. So you can like see that at least in some element they did some sort of rotation of it. We had mentioned this before, and someone had said that they thought that it was built like 2-dimensionally. I'm not sure about that, but it would be really, really awesome if we were able to like rotate around the kingdom a little bit, be able to view it from different angles, from a straight on angle, or, even just the other way. So we could look around buildings, see different things. I mean, it would just really, really enhance the ability of the full like immersed park experience.
I would never have to do a fancy thumbnail again. It would be great.
But yeah, I love that idea. So thank you for that idea, Morgan. All right, and Allison. Allison says, it would be great if there was a countdown time. It would be great if there was a countdown timer section for buildings, similar to the way that we could view how much time is left for characters to complete their activities. So what Allison means here is, you know how you can click the little button in the top left corner that brings up the timers for all your different characters and how much longer they have until they complete their activities. Well, wouldn't it be cool if there was just another tab that you could click and you see all your buildings and what tokens they're collecting, how much time is left before they collect. I think that would be a fantastic idea. Right? No harm in that.
No harm in that at all. And it sounds like something that they would actually do.
Yeah, I think it's a valuable thing to know how much time is left on your buildings, for many, many various different reasons. So I like it. It's a good suggestion. Thank you, Allison, for writing in on that one. If you have a feature that you would like to see implemented, please write in using any of our various social media platforms and let us know. Your idea could be on next week's show. All right, so we're going to go around the community and answer some community questions. So, DisneyGirl, why don't you read the first question?
Okay, from M. McClure, what would your thoughts be around Disney Magic Kingdoms has a big Pixar event with all of the Pixar films that are not currently in the game? Each chapter could have content from one Pixar film. What do you think about that?
I think that's a lot of content to put into one event.
Me too.
I think it's awesome, and I absolutely love it. But I think it's just it's going a little too much into, just trying to do a little too much at once. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. All right. Now, a follow-up question from M. McClure was, what do you think will be the next Pixar film to be in Disney Magic Kingdoms?
An expansion on Toy Story.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. There's definitely gonna be something Toy Story. There's no way that there's not gonna be something Toy Story this summer. But like full event, I would have to say I'm hoping that it's going to be around Halloween and it's going to be the Coco event, because I was secretly hoping for that this year. But I would love for Coco to come out like at the start of October or something, so we get to kind of, or even mid-October for those people living in the States and stuff, and have Thanksgiving in November. It's just kind of having that fall sort of transition there with Coco, I think would be super fun. And Cars, I think, will come eventually. Like, I know Cars is a Pixar. Yeah, Cars is Pixar as well. I think that could be something that they could add, but I don't know if they're going to do something like that this year. I think that's something for maybe next year, because there's just too much going on in terms of, like, I know what they're going to add. Like, there's just no way they won't. Yeah. So, like, for certain events, and I'm like, yeah, they're bringing those ones in, and I think that a lot of those Pixar ones, like Dory's Pixar, I think, too, right? Yep.
Yeah. I'm just going off the top of my head here. So I think, like, those are great events, but I don't know if it's a 2019 thing. I'm wondering if it's more of a 2020. So, yeah.
Well, hindsight.
Coco, though.
Well, hindsight is 2020, so we'll find out then.
Yeah.
Sorry, the dad jokes are strong today.
Yeah.
All right. And then, then finally, the last question from Ryan. What do you think the next event is going to be, and what's the general order in terms of events? Is it usually Tower, limited event, 2 mini events, and then Tower again normally?
What do you mean by mini events?
I don't know what he quite means by mini events. Maybe just like when they just have like a random...
Like leaderboard event? Is that what it is?
Either like a leaderboard event. Yeah, like where, like, remember there was like Pirates in a Pinch where you could earn like Goofy's pirate costume. That was just like in the middle of nowhere.
Okay. Yeah. The mini event, I don't know about that, but they usually try and have something, whether it's, I guess, if you want to call that a mini event, or they sort of expand on the main storyline. So like last year we had Cinderella, I think, like, in the spring, where we got Fairy Godmother. It was just like one character, but it was still an expansion on something. So I think I guess it goes tower or limited, doesn't matter which you start with. So right now it's limited time event. It should be a tower next, but we just had the tower, so I'm thinking they got to do something in between that, like, I don't know, expand on the main storyline, I would think would be the next thing. Because last year in February, they did expanding on the Peter Pan storyline. So I don't know. I feel like maybe March they could, or April they could do something like that. But otherwise, Dumbo, because Dumbo movie's coming out the live action March 29th. So I'm thinking that Dumbo is probably in terms of next event.
Yes, I think that they're going to do something Dumbo related, and I think it's going to be more of like an expansion, like or something of that where it's not a full blown event, but it's like 4 characters.
Now, do you think that that would be a good one to have as a main storyline, or do you think that should be a limited time event with 7 characters?
I think it's going to be a main storyline. I don't think it's going to be limited time. That's at least how I think it would appear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we'll have to just wait and see. But thank you for the questions. Now, I actually just updated our notes here because I changed something out. So if you go back up here, we're gonna go long today, okay? Because why not? But there's one more thing I want to add in here today. So Tom Wright, creator that I found on the Disney Magic Kingdom Facebook groups, his concepts for expansions are awesome, and he came out with an exclusive one just for our show tonight, going back to Pixar. And one of my favorite Pixar movies. He has a concept for the Inside Out event idea. Disney Girl, do you see it? Have you seen the updated thing here?
I see it, okay. Yeah.
So, Tom's concept for this expansion would be that it would be a full limited time event where the emotions go on a search to find and bring back Bing Bong. He said that one of the Tapper events could feature the Sadness Clouds and tasks to clear the evil broccoli. Maybe the evil broccoli could just be instead of like the creepy voodoo dolls, you would just be clearing like walking broccoli.
Gosh.
and of course, one new plot of land to open at Adventureland because everyone loves more land. So his concept for this would be that 7 new characters would be joining the kingdom. There would be Sadness, Joy, and Bing Bong. And then he has Fear as a premium character, Disgust, Anger, and then the Rainbow Unicorn as the other premium character. I mean, those are the most perfect characters that you could think of there. Who else would you obviously add into this if you were just talking about Inside Out?
Honestly, I fell asleep pretty early on at the start of that movie. So I'm gonna just leave you to predict on this one.
Okay, sure.
I gotta make it through it at some point, but yeah.
No, this is one of my favorite movies, so you definitely want to check this one out. It is really, really good.
I'll put it higher up on my list then.
So there'd be 4 new attractions: the Emotions Headquarters, the Train of Thought, Imagination Land, and of course Goofball Island. That would be your premium. There'd be 3 new concessions. You'd have the Angry Dogs hot dog stand, the Rainbow Unicorn ice cream, and Bing Bong's hat stand. I think those are all really, really awesome concession ideas. Of course, who we obviously mentioned for new characters would be Riley, who's the main character. I think she would be like Christopher Robin was like the Tower Challenge add-on. I think she would be a good Tower Challenge add-on too. And then new decorations. You'd have the Memory Orb pile, the Inside Out themed plant, a rainbow sign, and of course a golden hockey trophy. I love the golden hockey trophy. I think that's such a fantastic idea for having the golden trophy for the leaderboard events. And then of course a new parade float based on Bing Bong's cart and the elements of the different lands. I think it's really, really cool. I love this. We talk about Pixar, we talk about bringing it in. I think it's a fantastic idea. And I think that everyone would love to see an Inside Out event. So if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's a fantastic movie.
And don't fall asleep.
Don't fall asleep. All right. So there's just some other things around the kingdom that we might have talked about, but I just want to refresh you on. Radiant chests are now available for 25 gems each. They are limited to 1 per day and will be available for the next 12 days. Maybe bundles will be available in the future, but nobody knows. So if you want a lot of tokens, you can go buy a bundle. The event currency bundle is available. Right now, it's 80 gems plus 2,500 event currency for $3.99 US dollars. So you can go ahead and buy that if you want to catch up on your event currency. Little Mermaid chests are available for the duration of the event for the usual price of 60 gems or $9.99 for a 6-pack. You can also check out the shop for the cotton candy cart, the smoothie shop concession, and the swamp gumbo stand, all available for 60 gems. And just out of the shop now, the cupcake stand was available for plus 40 gems, was available for $1.99 right around Valentine's Day, and it was also available for 60 gems in the shop. So that's what's going on around the kingdom otherwise. We do have 1 new 5-star rating and 1 new 5-star review. So, from Kate Brannon, she says, it's perfect for the DMK fan. This is the place for all things Disney Magic Kingdoms. Steve Squirrel, or Prince Sebastian, is informative and logical in his approach to the game. He's also fun. Come for the feature report, stay for the dad jokes. I love that. The weekly contributors are always on point. Even though I've been playing for a long time, I still learn something new with every episode. It's a delight to listen each week to someone who truly loves the game. Well, thank you so much, Kate. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you for the 5-star review. It does help us get seen more, and it also is just really nice to hear, so thank you.
Next time you have to have me read this because I'm just visualizing your head just swelling right now with the ego. Like she's so nice.
Get out of here. It's okay. There's
honestly, this is one of those ones that like everything just inflates. You're like, I am so good.
Listen, there are many people that say lots of mean things too, so I don't let it get to me.
No. Well, I am just saying that she had it worded so perfectly that when you were reading it, you didn't do it justice.
It was a big smile. She did a nice job with that.
She's wonderful.
There was
we love positive comments like that.
Yeah, so thank you so much. All right, shout-outs. The shout-out of the week goes to Stevendorf. He is an awesome contributor to our group, so thank you so much for being in the group and being an awesome contributor. It's great to have you around. Disney Girl, you got any shout-outs?
Yes, I do. To you, Prince Sebastian, for having me again on the podcast. Thanks so much. I have so much fun doing these.
Good. I'm glad you.
I always learn stuff too, it's just I think about things a little bit more in depth than maybe sometimes I would when I'm playing. Because a lot of times it's like those like newer players that come and they ask those basic questions. I don't want to make it too complicated, but I feel here I can kind of just let it all out.
Yeah.
Everything.
Well, that's the fun of the podcast. I like to get in depth and talk about it, and it's people like you that I have a lot of fun doing that with. And thank you for bearing with me for starting an hour late due to some technical difficulties, but I'm so glad you were here, and I can't wait to have you back on.
Thank you.
All right, next week's show, KC from KC Loves Gaming returns as we go through Chapter 2 of this awesome event. So, looking forward to having KC back on. He was an awesome guest, so he will be on next week. If you want to be more involved with the show, you can follow us on Twitter at ATK Podcast and like our Facebook page at facebook.com/ATK Podcast. Here you will find out before anyone else about any breaking news that we hear, information on contests and giveaways, when new shows are published, and of course, my ramblings and photos from my day-to-day playing. The show's Facebook group is up, and it's a great way to easily interact with me and other fans of the show to talk about our favorite game. The link to our group will be in the show notes, and you can also find it on the show's main Facebook page. Also, you can write into the show. Our email address is aroundthekingdompodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you think about the show, what's working, what's terrible, or any other topic you want to write in about, even if you just want to say hi. We're now on YouTube. If you want to watch the show and see me and my awesome guest, or a picture of my awesome guest, please head on over and subscribe to our channel, like the video, and smash the bell to be notified when a new show goes live. The link to our channel will be in the show notes. If you want to help support the show, please head on over to iTunes, subscribe to the podcast, and leave us a 5-star review. Doing this is quick and easy, costs you nothing, but helps us greatly to be seen by other people so they can enjoy the show also. All 5-star reviews will be read at the end of every episode. Listening to the show is all we could really ask for, but if you do want to help support us in another way, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/AroundTheKingdom. We're halfway towards our first goal to help the production of the show, and it's a great way to show your support for about $1 an episode. The page was just put up and we'll be adding some cool rewards to the tiers of support, but for now you'll get a special shout out at the beginning of each episode. Again, it's patreon.com/AroundTheKingdom. The links will be in the show notes. Thanks again for joining us this week. I am Prince Sebastian for myself and DisneyGirl. We hope you have a great night, and we will see you around the kingdom next week.
Bye.